Gareth A. Davies, how are we, sir?
I'm very well, Addy, and great to see you as always. I've got to mention it straight away for top of the I'm still lamenting the loss of Ricky Hatton. It's been augmented by the passing, in some ways, of Thomas Jabezi, who I have just found out about in the last couple of days. 20 years I've known him. Obviously worked on UFC and a lot of boxing stuff. A lovely man from the East Coast of America, and a great mentor to lots of young journalists and boxing writers. He was only 57. He's gone suddenly. It's a little weird this time as we watch the birds fly south across the autumn sky and say goodbye to a few people. Like you, I've been busy with the Eubank Benn fallout as well. Spoke to Robert Smith for a Saturday night show that's gone everywhere. I'm sure we'll get into that. And also, like you, I watched the Jake Paul, Gervonta Davis press conference with matchsticks, keeping my eyes open, watching a man in Gervonta Davis who looked like he'd been dragged to a shopping mall on a Saturday afternoon rather than being allowed to go to his favourite football game.
Yeah, so much to take away from what you just said there, but that's the one thing that stood out for me in the last few days, watching that press conference. And Gervonta almost looks like he's forced to be there.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't want to be there. And I'm like, well, do you want to do this or not? Like, do you want to fight or not? Because it was almost like...
Do you want to earn 20 million or not?
Yeah. And honestly, there was a times during that press conference, I was like, I could see the frustration of Jake. Like, obviously, Jake's the master showman, isn't he? And he was probably thinking, are you going to try and sell this? Or is it just going to be me? Like, you signed the contract. You want the money. Can we just try and sell it? And Gervonta would rather be anywhere but there. And the size difference was incredible when they stood up. I couldn't believe it.
Well, right now it's probably
well?
£90, and it's going to be 60 when they eventually fight each other, isn't it? 195 versus 135 in those 12-ounce gloves.
All right, we're here from Gervonta Davis and Jake Paul. Remember, that fight takes place on November 14th, which is the day before Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn get it on again. Their press conference was a few days ago. Gareth, obviously, you were there, as you mentioned. Chris Eubank Jr. stealing the show again. I almost feel like he's the master now at these press conferences. And it's funny because you go back, a decade, and it was all about his dad. He wouldn't talk. He'll just stay there, almost stoic. Now, he's almost the conductor and he controls them so well.
Yeah, and what he did this time, in my view, is played victim and villain at the same time. He said he felt victimized by a sabotaged last event, that he won clearly 8-4, or at least 7-5 clearly. I had him 8-4, 116, 112, like the three judges at Spurs back in April, at Tottenham Hotspur back in April. He casts a lot of aspersions on a lot of people over a lot of things. The most serious of it all, apart from the fact that, that he claims that that Matroom and the Benns tried to sabotage his night and sabotage the fight week with the gloves, the weigh-in, the rehydration clause, all those things. The one that really piques the curiosity and needs further investigation is the delayed ambulance out of the ground for 20 minutes. And as you know, as I do, was absolute chaos. The most chaotic scenes I think I've ever had leaving a ground or leaving a venue. And I spoke to Robert Smith about this last week, and he is consulting his legal team over the accusations and allegations that Chris has made. But yeah, he is. He's the master of ceremonies. He's as awkward as he is entertaining, and I think he also got himself into slightly hot water, and you probably could give him the get out of jail free card. I'm talking Monopoly here, not anything else, in case anyone thinks I'm going that way, is where he was interrupting Eddie when Eddie was giving a tribute to Ricky Hatton. I think it was ill-advised to do that, but I think his plan was to shut Eddie down regardless of what Eddie was going to say. And I understand he's issued an apology about that anyway, or a tribute to Ricky Hatton, insisting that it wasn't deliberate to cut across that. It was very, very interesting press conference.
He's got to be careful. I find him fascinating, and look, we've been to hundreds of these press conferences, and sometimes, it's almost like watching paint dry. So it is good to have someone that's entertaining, and you're going to get some pieces from some clips from. But he's got to be careful, especially with the ambulance thing. That's an accusation that, I mean, I'm shocked that no one can control Chris, right? No one, manager, friends, no one. He clearly is his own boss, but you can't go around accusing people of things like that. I felt that was dangerous.
Yeah, well, Eddie Hearn isn't. Well, if he has that, and these allegations are true, then they will be investigated. I mean, Robert Smith is looking at two separate things at the moment. The Secretary of the Boxing Board of Control. One, the allegations about what happens with the money that they take in from fines. Obviously, they've got a business to run. I've known Robert a long time, and I don't see him in any shape or form as a corrupt official. He's a guy that is trying to run a very difficult sport. We call it the Wild West for a reason. It is a very difficult sport to police, and I think they do a good job of policing it. I know that they get accused of by people like Simon Jordan before they actually know what they're talking about, of the Boxing Board of no control. But that isn't the case. It's an inherently dangerous sport, and they do a very good job of it, a very difficult job of it as well. I think the ambulance is a really serious issue if that's the case, and that needs further kind of meticulous checking over and why that happened. What happens to fines? We know what happens. They use it for the administration, training, all the things that they do, medical research, all the things that they do to try and improve the board, which is one of the best in the world, frankly, if not the best. So it was a very entertaining press conference, and like you say, Chris Eubank Jr. is the master promoter. He loves the fame, the attention, the money, and at the end of the day, stepping in for a bit of prize fighting. It's a bit like, Eddie, just to finish off and give you some airtime. When Eubank Sr. stepped out of the limo with that big sliding door and created one of the moments of drama and theatre on the night. An hour later, or 2 hours later, he was jabbing me in the chest, going, "It shouldn't be happening again." And he'll be doing that all the way. But again, what is it? Is it narcissism? Is it egotism? Are they duplicitous? What are they teasing us? Are they playing with us? Are they just being master showmen? Are they all these things? I don't mean duplicitous in a negative way. I mean, are they playing one side and then playing the other? As Chris said at the time, this is theatre. This is drama. Chris Senior said, "This is theatre. This is drama." So it's very, very interesting.
Yeah, the apple doesn't drop too far from the tree, right?
Exactly.
I do think though that one of the interesting additions, if you like, to this cast is now Bowmac. I thought Chris Eubank Jr. looked at his best when he was with Bowmac for that Liam Smith rematch. Obviously, Bowmac wasn't there for the second fight. Bowmac is now back, and it just adds an interesting element to it. I actually caught up with Chris after the press conference, and we spoke about a number of things, but we spoke about why Bowmac is back training him as opposed to Jonathan Banks.
Bowmac is back now. I love Bowmac. I think we all love Bowmac. I actually think your performance against Liam Smith the second time around with Bowmac in the corner was maybe the best performance of your career. How important is it that Bowmac is back? And is it disappointing that there's no longer Jonathan Banks there, who is, again, a top trainer?
Jonathan Banks, an amazing coach, an amazing trainer, amazing person. It was just simply a fact of me and the team wanting a different approach to this fight the second time around. We don't want the fight going 12 rounds. So that means we have to, the best chance of that is to employ a different strategy, have different tactics, have a different mindset on what it is we need to do with Conor Benn in that ring. that's why we brought Bowmac in. Me and Bowmac are 1-0 when it comes to rematches. We're about to make it 2-0.
Chris there basically giving Jonathan Banks all the plaudits, but ultimately admitting that Bowmac is just the elite trainer. Why would you not want to have Bowmac in your corner? What do you make of this Chris switching trainers constantly thing? It seems to be every single fight seems to be a different trainer. And I do wonder if he just needs to stick to a winning team as opposed to constantly changing it up all the time.
Well, I mean, historically, this is what he does, and he has been around the houses with trainers. I mean, Jonathan Banks is a very clever trainer and trained under the best in terms of Emmanuel Stewart and the years around Emmanuel Stewart, the late great Emmanuel Stewart of obviously the Kronk fame, and also around Vladimir Klitschko for a long time, and obviously Jonathan, I think, fought in 2 weight divisions himself.
Yeah,
I've always got on very well with Jonathan, and he's a listener as well as an advocate of the skills you must have in the ring. So, but I think Bowmac is a different level. He's a guy who's flying high right now. One of the things on Saturday night, on fight night on Saturday night, that Spencer Oliver and I discussed was just how much time Bowmac seems to have between rounds when he talks to his fighters. So much so that he let his second in the ring say a few words as well. Have you got anything to add? He's very calm and collected. So I think it's a good move. And like you say, the second performance against Liam Smith, notwithstanding the fact that maybe Liam was injured or got an injury during the fight, I agree with you. I think it's one of Chris's finest performances in recent years. So, and obviously Bowmac oversaw that. That was when he was, of course, found to have a gun in his bag, if you recall, in Manchester. How he smuggled it, or he didn't smuggle it, how he brought it in, how it came through in the first place is a mystery. And thankfully he didn't get in too much hot water for it afterwards. But I think he's a great addition to Chris's camp.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned that part there at the end, because I'm actually shocked that he's in the country. I was like, I didn't even realize he would be allowed back in. But look, it's great to see Bowmac here. He's a character. He's one of the leading trainers in the world. And I think if you're Chris Eubank Jr., I mean, it adds to your camp as opposed to takes away. Although, again, I agree, Jonathan Banks is a good trainer. Bowmac's an elite trainer. Quiet weekend in terms of boxing. Oscar Collazo beat Jason Vason. Strange, don't know if you watched the fight, but strange corner stoppage. Vason wasn't happy with his corner at all for calling it off in the 7th round. And Gabriela Fundora, sister of Sebastian Fundora, retained all her belts as well. Without doubt for me, I'd have Clarissa, I'd have Katie. I think she's the 3rd best female. I think she jumps Chantel Cameron. I think she's that good.
Yeah, I agree. I think she can go up weight divisions as well. I remember meeting her at the Ring Magazine Awards where she got an award. I think I think they're thinking about stepping her up now, aren't they?
They are. You're right. She's very wiry, very tall, just like her brother, so she can pack on a few pounds. Quick one to wrap this section. Have you watched Matroom's show, The Greatest Showman? Have you watched any bits of it at all?
I have. I watched the entire 6 episodes, of course.
Oh, wow. Okay. What, back to back?
Back to back. I watched it back to back. I did watch it back to back. Fascinated to see how Matroom and Eddie and Barry came along. I think you took a bit of a starring role every now and again as well.
Yeah.
But I thought it was very well put together. I just wondered at times, and I think because I'm so close to the sport, I just wanted to know a little bit more, but I think it'll be very well received by the general public. I think Barry Hearn came across as a massive star and an incredible man in his late 70s who will look back on the empire that he built with great pride when he decides, well, I think he'll work on it forever. He'll probably work on it till he drops. And, life has tried to take him a couple of times already. And the old man has got so much life force in him, he ain't going anywhere.
Yeah, I've got one more episode left. So I hope me and Gareth aren't giving away any spoilers here. But I thought it was really good as well. For me, the only sort of downside for me was, I work on these events, so I kind of see what they showed anyway, but I really wanted to see more characters. I thought Katie Hearn, who is on sort of the outside looking in, people don't really know what she does. I thought that she could have been a good addition. There are so many other people at Matroom that I see again on a daily basis that I thought could have been added to it. And it was interesting the fighters they chose to kind of profile as well. So what was it? AJ, Katie, and Johnny Fisher, and obviously Ben Eubank.
Yeah,
And
well, I
obviously
think
Matchroom Stable's a lot bigger than that. So it was
was
interesting.
That was one of the things that, you know, if you want to be critical of it, because we know the inside track is that that there could have been more editing, but when you think these guys were around them for almost two years, I think, filming them, I think they needed to make it episodic, didn't they? In a very kind of defined way. So, you know, there was I've forgotten her name now, Emily
Fraser,
and Matt Porter on the darts, and Emily on the world multi-sports, and the Barry and the Eddie and the AJ and the Katie and the Conor Benn. Like you say, they needed to segment those episodes because I mean, there will have been. I mean, I recall them being around us on so many occasions. The 5 cameras, so many different events, and what it did show was the ups and downs that Matchroom have had over the last 2 years as well. Where it's really not gone all their way, particularly the 0-5 against Frank Warren, which I thought was one of the most outstanding episodes in the series. I don't want to spoil it for people too much
okay, we better stop.
I'm trying not to give away too much of the details, but you've got to watch it to the end because there's a big reveal at the end, and we know now where they are. So it's quite interesting what happens towards the end.
Yeah, if you're a hardcore boxing fan, maybe not for you, but if you're a casual boxing fan, I think you'll lap this up. I think you'll love it because you'll see things that you don't normally see, the behind the scenes, the emotion.
Yeah.
So I think it'll be fantastic for getting new fans into the sport. All right, you're listening to Find It Extra on talkSPORT 2. Next up, we go from one lively press conference to another. We're going to hear from Jake Paul and Gervonta Davis, who've been speaking ahead of their exhibition fight later this year. Welcome back. You're listening to Find It Extra on talkSPORT 2. Adi Oladipo, Gareth A. Davis. All right, we teased it in the section previous. We've now seen them together. Gervonta Davis and Jake Paul held a press conference in New York. We saw them go face to face, or should I say face to chest, considering the height difference. We know the stipulations of the fight is what will be 10 3-minute rounds. The weight limit is 195 pounds, although Gervonta said he wanted it to be 190, and they're going to wear 12-ounce gloves. And there will be a winner declared as well because they're going to be 3 ringside judges. What did you make of that press conference? Compare it to the Conor Benn Eubank one.
Well, it was just bizarre, wasn't it? Like I said, it felt like Gervonta Davis had been dragged against his will, shackled to a press conference that he just... It was almost like Jake Paul was giving off some horrible odor. He didn't want to go near him. You know, as you say, he's 60 pounds. He's going to be 60 pounds lighter at the weigh-in than, well, maybe he won't be because maybe he'll be 145 or 147. But obviously he fights at 135 pounds. So ostensibly he's 60 pounds lighter than Jake Paul will be at the weigh-in. It was very, very odd. And for a guy that's going to be paid handsomely, I know it's Miami. I know it's Friday, November the 14th. I know that they've done a press conference and they'll probably do some more. But I can't close my eyes and see the silhouettes moving against each other for some weird reason, you know?
Interesting. Yeah, no, 100% agree with you. I get that Gervonta's doing this for money, but there's got to be this. Do you want to be there or not, Gervonta? Do you want to be there or not? Because if I'm Nikisha and Jake Paul behind the scenes, like everyone talks behind the scenes, I'm like, okay, look, what's going on? Like, do you want to do this or not? Because we can find someone else if you don't want to do it. Because it almost felt like it was a waste of time watching it. And Jake Paul's presses are quite interesting sometimes because he does say outlandish stuff, but he had no one to dance with. There was no dance partner for him. He was dancing by himself, wasn't he? And it's like, am I just doing this myself?
Yeah, and when he dances by himself, he looks like a big oaf. You know, there was nothing.
Yes.
There was no. It just looked like buffoonery. And Tank wasn't playing the game. I completely agree with you. And maybe that's his shtick for this fight. That he's just going to go in there, pick up the money, and just do the business and not get hit. I know that the YouTube channels, the social media channels, interviewed Jake afterwards, and he said he's fighting AJ next year as well. By the way, that is still in talks. So we're going to go from the sublime to the ridiculous with this scenario, because we're going to go from a guy that's 135 to a guy that's 240, 245, a difference of 110 pounds. Talk about an extremist. That's what Jake Paul is. He's an extremist, bringing those 50 million social media followers, subscribers. And that's what we're watching. I always thought this was a weird opponent for him in Gervonta Davis. And I think we're seeing exactly why at the moment.
Yeah, and 12-ounce gloves as well. I mean, Gervonta's known to being somewhat of a knockout artist, right? That's his thing. Yes, he can box, but he hurts you. I mean, I don't know what he's going to do with those pillows on his hands. I mean, 12 ounces. This is just, and I don't want to kick Jake when Jake's down, because I think Jake's actually quite a good thing for boxing. He's not as bad as everyone says he is, but I just don't understand this. And I like the other ones he has done in recent times, apart from the Mike Tyson one. I was like, this Chavez could be an interesting fight, but this one I find the worst. I really do. And when they did do the face to face, as I joked, the face to chest, it just kind of exemplified what I was talking about. This is ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, it is. He comes up to his navel. Gervonta Davis comes up to
Jake
Paul's navel.
He does.
And when you close your eyes and see the silhouettes moving, my comparison, if you like, is Amir Khan fought at lightweight at one point with barely see a punch landing on him, and he'll walk away with 20 million. Thank you very much.
Okay. That being said, Terence Crawford versus Canelo did 41 million.
Yeah.
Which, by all accounts, is a very good number. What does this do?
About the same, in my view.
So it's a success then?
Yeah, it will be a success.
Yeah.
The marketing of it will be a success. Jake Paul is a success, whatever he does. And I think Gervonta Davis took the line. I don't want to make a fool of myself here. I've got no reason. I'm not intimidated by this guy. He's not one of the lions in my jungle. I don't need to exert myself and intimidate him. There's no need. I'll just let him do his act. And that's what he did. And I think he'll go in there and move around and look incredibly skillful. The problem for Jake Paul, I think we're going to listen to him a little bit, but he reckons that this will prove his doubters wrong. I don't see that at all.
Yeah. All right. There you go. Perfect segue into it. This is Jake Paul speaking to the media after. And as Gareth said, he said that finally he'll prove the doubters wrong, because he's now fighting a pound-for-pound fighter.
And I'm only 28 years old. I have a lot more to prove. And once I beat this guy, more people will shut up. But at the end of the day, I'm really still just getting warmed up in the sport. And I'm going to show how good I am. This is a top 10 pound-for-pound fighter that I'm going to outbox. And truly, when people run back this press conference, all the shit talk, all the fun, they're going to be like, wow, this kid really is doing something monumental in the sport, and he's actually insane boxer. And I'm going to show that this guy who's been doing it his whole life has been doing it wrong his whole life.
What'd you say, Tank?
He said he's going to outbox me. Whoop-de-doo.
Yeah, it doesn't work like that, does it, Gareth? I mean, this is not how you prove doubters wrong by, as you say, being basically a heavyweight, because Jake Paul is a big boy, picking on a 135-pounder. It doesn't prove your doubters wrong at all. And he knows this. Nikisa knows this. They're a smart bunch of businessmen. They know what they're doing here.
Yeah, and he's got other fights that apparently are being lined up. If you recall, I mean, we've been talking about Saul Canelo Alvarez and Terence Crawford. He was within a whisker of getting Canelo into the ring with him. Even though people are saying that Eddie Hearn got played over Anthony Joshua, the talk is still that there are chances of getting Jake Paul and Anthony Joshua in a ring together, which I don't agree with in many ways. I think the one fight at the moment that Jake Paul, you could see them matching up in more ways than the others is Canelo, because he's single shots loading up, and everyone would love to see Canelo land his big body shot on Jake Paul. But Jake Paul has got boxing by the short and curlies, basically. He's hijacked the sport. He's press ganged it onto his platform. And as long as he wants to do it, and he's got dance partners who've got very big names, he's going to make a lot of money doing it, and he's going to get a lot of eyeballs on it.
Yeah, I just wonder, sometimes I wonder what the end game is for Jake Paul. I mean, he spoke earlier, or a couple of years ago, about winning a world title. I no longer believe that's the case, although he can jump into the rankings. I almost feel like it's just this. It's just these fights that do big numbers. It's fighting big people that have big followings and are real boxers, regardless of their size. And I do think his next three, people might think this is crazy, is Gervonta, AJ, Canelo.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I don't disagree with you in the slightest. And I think he's obviously done a lot for women's boxing and is doing a lot for women's boxing. Yeah. He's platformed them in a brilliant way, more than anyone else has ever done. But I think he's reached his level. I don't think he will get much better than he is at the moment. Obviously, he loves the sport and loves training and all those things. But I think we've seen the level he's going to reach, and that's it. And what it is a southern area champion, or a northern area champion, or a Midlands champion, area champion. That is.
You're listening to Find It Extra on talkSPORT 2. Up next, we're going to round off the rest of the boxing news, including a swift return for the pound-for-pound king, Inoue. Welcome back. You're listening to Find It Extra on talkSPORT 2. Oladipo, Gareth Davies. Talk Boxing had a very special guest on their show recently. Robert Bowmac McIntyre, trainer of Terence Crawford, trainer also of Chris Eubank Jr., obviously was here to support Chris at the press conference. And he was asked about the fight, obviously, between Terence Crawford and Canelo. And this is what he had to say. Welcome back. You're listening to Find It Extra on talkSPORT 2. Oladipo, the great Gareth Davies. All right, Talk Boxing had a very special guest in their studio a few days ago. Brian Bowmac McIntyre, trainer to the great pound-for-pound superstar, all-time great Terence Crawford, obviously trainer as well to Chris Eubank Jr. He was in the country to support his man Chris Eubank Jr. in the press conference with Conor Benn. But he spoke at length about his main charge, Terence Crawford's big victory over Canelo Alvarez, and this is what he had to say.
Did the fight go exactly as you had mapped out in your mind and what you thought would manifest itself? As much as one can. As much as one can.
It was 100% how we thought it was going to go.
Did it?
It was 100%. Him stepping forward, him throwing the wide shots, him moving his head, him trying to fight on the inside. It went just like how we wanted it to go. That's what performance you guys got from Terence. So, like in the corner, going through the fight, you just like, kind of like tensed up a little bit. Is he doing this? Is he doing that right? But after the fight was over, and then you sit back and you watch the fight. Yes, it was easy. It was easy. It don't seem like it when you in the corner and you looking. Sometimes you can't see the camera guy right here. He might get caught with this shot. The crowd go wild and like, damn. But when you sit back and you go watch it, he did exactly what we thought he was going to do.
Bowmac there basically saying it was an easy and predictable night's work for Terence Crawford. And I guess in the end, it was. I've watched it back a few times and I've seen Crawford in harder fights. But a lot of credit does need to go to Bowmac. I think you mentioned it earlier that you and Spencer were talking about just how calm he is in that corner. Always giving the second the chance to speak. Always gives his instructions very quick, very sharp, and then kind of lets his fighters just almost understand what he's saying, then go into the ring and deliver. He really is one of the top trainers in boxing right now.
Yeah, he's a very wizened character, and I think people feel the people he worked with always feel very reassured having him around. What I wish they had asked him is how Terence Crawford would have fared against Floyd Mayweather. And how that fight would have gone and how he'd have prepared to fight Floyd Mayweather, because I love that debate. And maybe how he would have prepared Terence for a fight with the best welterweight before that, in my view, that was Sugar Ray Leonard. Because I think that debate about, I'd love to have that with you. Sugar Ray Leonard.
Let's go.
Floyd Mayweather, Terence Crawford. Okay, who wins between Terence Crawford and Floyd Mayweather then?
At 147?
Yeah, about 147, yeah.
Terence.
I don't
Terence,
think...
I think he's... I think at 135, Floyd wins.
Well, no, I'm going 147, and I'm going for both of them at their peak at 147. The Terence Crawford that beat Errol Spence, anyway, when he was 35, and the in-form Floyd Mayweather at welterweight as well. I just think, and I watched a lot more of Floyd Mayweather live than you did. Probably 20 of his fights, maybe not as many as 20, but a lot of his fights live, his big fights. And I just think that Terence would have been pipped by hand speed, believe it or not, through the middle, and Floyd's ability to avoid punches. I know we're just coming off the back of the optics of him being extraordinary against Saul Canelo Alvarez, and I agree with the things that Bowmac was saying about it was an easy night's work for him because he was so brilliant. But I'm just pipping it towards Floyd in that fight.
You know what it is? I'm trying to think of Floyd's best work at 147, and nothing even comes close to what Crawford did to Spence at 147.
Well,
that was... I know Spence was kind of broken, but going into the fight, everyone's had their thoughts after. Like, everyone's playing Monday morning quarterback. But going into the fight, Terence versus Errol was a genuine 50-50 fight. And I've never seen someone do that to someone in what was classed as a 50-50 fight. Yeah, he bashed him up. He is so aggressive.
Listen, we will never know, unfortunately. Now Floyd's talking about making a comeback because everyone's talking about so I just think Floyd's... it's an extraordinary battle. I mean, obviously, it's odious to make these comparisons, but it's...
Is Crawford a bit too big for him?
No, I don't think so. Well, he is now.
Okay.
Yeah,
he is now.
He is now.
Okay. Crawford, Sugar Ray.
I think Sugar Ray on hand speed and movement. Although I'm not sure. Wow.
It's so good though, isn't it? Because for years it's been Sugar Ray Floyd. Yeah. That debate's gone on for a decade or so. Finally, there's now a three. Yeah. There's a third finally into this equation.
There's a lineage. And there's a lineage.
Yes, finally. Yeah. Because no one else really was able to kind of be added to that. So I think it's a great debate. Honestly, those three, you could mix them.
Well, then we've got Floyd and Sugar Ray. Who wins that?
I think Sugar Ray's... You know what? Floyd had speed, but Sugar Ray was as fast and so much more aggressive, I think, at welterweight than Floyd was. Like, he would actually go for the kill, whereas Floyd would kind of hold back and just kind of cruise, wouldn't he, to a 12-round decision when he needed to.
Yeah.
I think Sugar Ray was just frightening.
And also, of course, if you look at what he did against Marvelous Marvin Hagler, that for me is one of the great fights. He could really fight Sugar Ray as well. He could really box. He could really move. He showed everything. And I never saw him live, obviously, but even though he was, I think he was boxing still when I had started covering the sport, but obviously he was way past his best then. But when I speak to the late great Colin Hart about him, when I've spoken, I'm going slightly on his views, and he was a brilliant judge of fighting character and skills. And Colin reckoned that he'd have beaten Mayweather. But then again, we're always influenced by the guys we've watched live, like Nat Fleischer, who started the Ring magazine, would have thought that Jack Johnson was the best heavyweight he'd ever seen. So what I do love about this debate at the moment, and this is what I think, I'm not sure whether we've shared this on the show at the moment, but we've got Inoue, Alexander Usyk, and Terence Crawford at the moment in that kind of 1, 2, 3. I've got Terence at 1 now, Usyk at 2, and Inoue at 3. We're living in an era where we've got 3 genuine all-time greats right now. And it's an amazing thing. We should really treasure that and really put that out there as much as possible to the wider sports community, in my view.
Yeah, I mean, even the guy that was opposing Crawford is probably an all-time great
in Mexico.
In Canelo.
In Mexico, yeah.
In Mexico, yeah. So we've got quite a few, and we are very fortunate. Very quickly on this, if you can, very quickly, everyone's been doing their Mount Rushmore recently. So their favorite 4 fighters, or I guess their favorite. Doesn't have to be their best. Who are your favorite 4 fighters?
What right now? History? Right now,
in history.
Oh God.
Favorite 4. You must have them. You must have a 4. You must have like a couple of bankers.
Marvin Hagler is in there.
Yeah.
Favorite for what reason?
Whatever. There's no stipulations here. Whatever.
Joe Calzaghe could be just in there.
There you go. Okay. Yeah.
Muhammad Ali is in there.
3. Great. 3. One more space.
And I'm going to say it because he just passed. There's only one Ricky Hatton.
Okay, it's a good 4. It's a good 4, isn't it? I done it the other day on my YouTube channel. Yeah. I did Muhammad Ali, Mike Tyson, Floyd Mayweather, and Bernard Hopkins. I did.
Oh well, I could have easily added those 2 of those guys there with Bernard Hopkins, Floyd Mayweather, or 3 of them, and Mike Tyson.
Yeah. I love these type of debates, and you start thinking about some of the greats. All right, talking of greats, you mentioned him a bit earlier. Inoue, back out December 27th. He's going to take on Alan David Picasso from Mexico. This will be Inoue's 4th fight in 12 months, which is, it's unheard of for a pound-for-pound star to fight. For a world champion to fight 4 times in a year is incredible. He will fight in Saudi Arabia. It's a very Japanese-influenced card. I think it's the Ring 5 card.
Night of the Samurai.
Night of the Samurai. It's going to be interesting, this one, because we've seen various superstars go over to Saudi. Obviously, Fury brought a big crowd. AJ did. Canelo didn't. Be interesting to see if people fly out for Inoue.
I doubt it, but hopefully they do and support it. But the nice thing about the Night of the Samurai card, like you say, let's hope that Inoue can paint the canvas against Picasso. Boom, 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 boom.
How many times is that going to be used?
How many times have I used it already? Plagiarizing myself. Undisputed Super Bantamweight World Championship. But the big thing about that card as well, apart from the fact Jazza Dickens, the brilliant British fighter, is on it at Super Featherweight, is that Junto Nakatani is on that card as well against Sebastian Hernandez at Super Bantamweight. And a lot of people feel that Junto Nakatani is probably one of the biggest tests out there for Inoue. So do we get a Ring magazine card at the Saitama Super Arena that I've done a couple of UFC events at in the past, in post-fight interviews on the TV? It's an amazing place. We'll get 50, 60,000 watching that live in Japan. Inoue, incredible character. And I'm really looking forward to that card. I don't think I'll be there for that one, but Night of the Samurai, brilliant work by the Saudi Arabians and Turki Al Sheikh.
Yeah, again, to kind of jump on, you're not sure you're going to be there. I think a lot of people are thinking that as well. December 27th is obviously a tough date for a lot of people to get out to Saudi Arabia, just being in and around Christmas. Finally, we'll end on this. Katie Taylor has informed the WBC that she plans to take some time away from boxing. She's been named champion in recess. Is this her finally deciding to maybe close the curtain on her career? Do you feel like we're there now? Or is there one more? Obviously, she's been talking about Croke Park for a long time. We all have. But again, if she can't get the dance partner to fill 80,000, it's going to be difficult. Is she maybe thinking this is the perfect time to kind of call it stop?
Well, it's funny, her line with the media when we say, "Is that enough now?" Is always, "No, I still want more fights." But in that Netflix series we were talking about earlier, there's a moment, if you recall, where she says, "I'm not sure I've got many more of these in me." Do you remember?
First time I've ever heard her say that.
Sorry, spoiler alert on that, but I've never heard
yeah.
that before from her either. So it did really prick my ears when I heard it.
And bear in mind, she had one more after that.
Yeah.
Because that was the second.
That was.
So that makes me feel that's it then. Because if there's not more in me, and then she had one more after, that probably means we are at the end.
Yeah. I think we're close now. And I'd love her to have a Croke Park fight. As I've said, again, a few times in the past, had she done Croke Park soon after the Olympics, she could have fought Minnie Mouse and got 80,000 in there. That's how popular she was then, and is even more popular now. The champion in recess thing, obviously she needs to take time away I think she is thinking of retiring. I think she probably is biding time to maybe get that big event. 65 million watched her live against Amanda Serrano in the second fight. Am I right in saying that?
Second fight, you are correct.
Dallas Cowboys Stadium. Look, she's been amazing to be around. I've known her since 2006 when I went to Bray to go when women's boxing first came in the Olympics. So I've known her 20 years, and Bridget, her mum, and her father, Peter, and their extraordinary family. Watched her through the ups and downs, and they've been mainly ups. But it's a shame. But can I also say that people like Katie Taylor have created a resonance in the sport for women's boxing, but also overall. And as we go into the autumn and the winter, we've got a great schedule ahead of us. I mean, I'm just picking out some big fights. October 25, Joseph Parker and Fabio Wardley. October 11th, even Dave Allen and Arslanbek Makhmudov in Sheffield. Great event. Yeah. I'm really looking forward to it. We've spoken about November the 14th, Miami. November the 15th, Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. You've got this card we're talking about on December the 27th. November the 22nd, David Benavidez and Anthony Yarde. And apparently Moses Itauma is going to fight at some point in Manchester in December. That's not a bad end to the year, is it?
It's incredible. And also, I think Boatsy Zach Parker's November 1st in Manchester.
Yeah.
That's got a few light heavyweights on it as well. Honestly, it's an incredible schedule. The only thing that, and I get boxing fans dig at it. I'm a boxing fan first and foremost. Yes, I work for DAZN, but I think, and I've seen people online talk about it. October 25th is a pay-per-view. I think November, Conor Benn Eubank would obviously be a pay-per-view, and Benavidez Yarde would be a pay-per-view. And I feel like DAZN should maybe look at some sort of package there for people. A buy one, get one free, or buy two, get a third free or something, because it can be expensive and people are going to pick and choose. And I do feel like there's something in that for fight fans where if you're going to do those type of fights, and look, you mentioned Moses Itauma, that's going to be a pay-per-view as well then. So I do feel like there should be some sort of package that fans get to make it more cost effective to follow the sport.
I'm happy for you to be on your soapbox, my friend.
yeah. If this is my last time working for DAZN, you know why. All right, you've been listening to Fighter Extra on talkSPORT 2. Big thanks, as always, to Gareth A. Davies for joining me today. Remember, if you've missed any of this show, you can listen to it as a podcast. Find it under the Fight Night banner on the talkSPORT app, on YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts from. We'll be back, as always, next week.
On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app, and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.